They have sprung from the same family tree of obscurity as we have. Their history is rooted as primitiveness as ours. Their ancestors ran wild and naked, lived in caves and in branches of trees like monkeys. That's ours. They made human sacrifices, ate the flesh of their own dead and the raw meat of wild beasts for centuries, even as they have accused us of doing. Their cannibalism was more prolonged than ours. When we were embracing the arts and sciences on the banks of the Nile, their ancestors were still drinking human blood and eating out of the skulls of their conquered dead. When our civilization had reached the noonday of progress, they were still running naked and sleeping in holes and caves with bats, rats, and other insects and animals. After we had already unfathomed the mystery of the stars and reduced the heavenly constellation to minute and regular calculus, they were still backwoodsmen living in ignorance and in blatant darkness. The world today is indebted to us for the benefits of civilization. They stole our arts and sciences from Africa. Then why should we be ashamed of ourselves? Remember always that the Jew in his political and economic urge is always first the Jew. The white man is first the white man under all circumstances, so you can do no less than be black, buy black, and then all else will take care of itself. The one inoculate you with evil doctrines to suit their own conveniences. There is no humanity before that which starts with yourself. Charity begins at home. So first that thyself be true, and thou canst not then be false to any man. Being at present scientifically the weaker race, in your homes and everywhere possible, you must teach the higher development of science to your children. And be sure to develop a race of scientists par excellence. For in science and religion lies our only hope to withstand the evil designs of modern materialism. At the great Church of Rome, black people the world over must practice one faith, and that of confidence in themselves, with one God, one aim, one destiny. Never forget your God. Remember, we live, work, and pray for the establishing of a great and binding racial hierarchy, the founding of a racial empire whose only natural, spiritual, and political limits shall be God and Africa at home and abroad. As we are descendants of a suffering people, we are the descendants of a people determined to suffer no longer. Many men and women as black as I am, and even more so, had believed themselves white under the West Indian Order Society. I was simply an impossible man to use openly the term Negro, yet everyone beneath this breath was calling the black man a nigger. I had to decide whether to please my friends and be one of the black whites of Jamaica and be reasonably prosperous, or come out openly and help improve and protect the integrity of the black millions and suffer. I decided to do the latter. There is no future for people who deny their past. My foreparents, my grandparents, my mother, my father did not suffer and die to give me an education to slight, oppress, or discourage my people. Whatsoever education I acquired out of their sacrifice of over 300 years, I shall use for the salvation of the 400 million black people of the world. And the day when I forsake my people, may God Almighty say there shall be no more light for you. I unequivocally rejected a racist assumption of much white American Christianity, namely that God had created the black man inferior, that he had intended Negroes to be a servant class, users of wood and drawers of water. I predicated my view of man in the doctrine of Imago Dei. All men, regardless of color, were created in the image of God. From this premise followed the equality of all men and the brotherhood of all men. The biblical injunction of Acts 17:26 reminds us that he created of one blood all nations of men to dwell on the face of the earth. I was most interested in brotherhood within his own race, because if Negroes are created in God's image and Negroes are black, then God must in some sense be black. If the white man has the idea of a white God, let him worship his God as he desires. We have found a new ideal. Because whilst our God has no color, and yet it is human to see everything through one's own spectacles, and since the white people have seen their God through their white spectacles, we have only now started to see our God through our own spectacles. We believe in the God of Ethiopia, the everlasting God, and we shall worship him through the spectacles of Ethiopia. Do you know what it is to be a man? To be a man is to bear resemblance of the Creator, the image of the Creator. If you are conscious of the fact that you are created in the image of the Creator, then you are a man. Man is a religious being. That is to say, you must have some kind of belief. Call it superstition or not. Some of us make our God the God of fire. Some of us make our God a God of water. Some of us make our God a God of elements. And others of us accept the Christian belief. Religion is something we cannot eliminate from his system or destroy in him. Therefore, it is folly for any man to go about attacking another man's religion, because to him it is fundamental. You may be a Christian, you may be a Mohammedan, that is your religion. We're entitled to our own religious beliefs. Some of us are Catholics, some of us are Baptists, some of us are Presbyterians, and we deem it a right to adhere to our own particular belief. The white world has always tried to rob and discredit us of our history. They tell us that Tutankhamun, the king of Egypt who reigned about the year 1350 BC, was not a black man, that the ancient civilization of Egypt and the pharaohs was not of our race. But that does not make the truth unreal. History of impartial mind knows that we once ruled the world, when white men were savages and barbarians living in caves. Thousands of our professionals at that time taught in the universities of Alexandria, then the seat of learning. Ethiopia shall stretch forth our hands unto God, and princes shall come out of Egypt. No black man shall be truly respected until the race as a whole has emancipated itself through self-achievement and progress from universal prejudice. He has to build his own government, industry, art, science, literature, and culture before the world will stop to consider him. Until then, we are but wards of a superior race and civilization and the outcasts of a standard social system. Back in the days of slavery, race mixture and miscegenation had occurred because the African woman had no protection from the slave master. So there is no need today for black people to themselves freely continue a practice that smacks so much of slavery. One of our problems historically is that we've always been reacting to initiatives taken by other people. You cannot depend upon another race to free you. That is a basic law of human existence. I came into the Caucasian culture at a time when the white man still had a need for the black man's labor. I preached and penetrated the mass black man's consciousness to such a degree that the white man felt threatened by me being capable of commanding so much black time and attention. Whites find it hard to sit idly by and let this black man take their slave labor away, especially back to Africa. Who then would bear the white man's burden? I feel that my blood shall pay that remission for which future generations of our race shall be declared free. Freedom of action, freedom of opportunity are things we need, which I believe can only be gained after we shall have established an imperial power to command the respect of other races and nations. Vile thoughts bring vile actions to vile people living in vile times. You could not tell me in the 1920s that 80 years later the world would be infested with neutron bombs, AIDS, drugs, homelessness, terrorism, laser beams, and visible nuclear devastation. However, were I alive today, I would still recommend the same remedy for my people's upliftment. Self-esteem, self-respect, and self-reliance in a world gone crazy with individualism. I never taught racism, but rather dignity and pride in one's race. With God's dearest blessings, I leave you for a while. One love.